What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Steelhead Alley Podcast. I'm Kyle, and as always, I've got my co-host Zack here with me, and we are pumped to be back for episode number 2. Today, we're diving into a question every angler wrestles with at some point in their journey. Do you chase that one big fish, or stack up numbers and enjoy steady action all day? How does that choice change your tactics? Do you approach the water differently, switch streams, or tie in a new fly? This episode unpacks the way we each approach these questions, from time on the water to the mindset behind it. At the end of the day, it's all fishing, and that's what keeps us coming back. Now, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back, Steelhead Alley Podcast. We're here for episode 2, getting back into it. Zack, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not much, man. Just staying busy. How about you?
Same, always busy. You know how it is. So last time we checked, I think I got on the water a couple times, took advantage of the wet season we've had, this wet June, a lot of water. It's been like hot and wet, you know how it is. But I appreciate the rain, even though it kind of sucks on if you don't have a lot of time to get out. I mean, some water is going to be fishable right now, which is pretty cool. Middle of July. I was out a couple times, man, and I was thinking about it. I went out for dry flies, just hunting surface. Actually, I did that twice. Got dumped on, rained on. First time, second time, did well. Caught, I don't know, a dozen, lost like a dozen or missed a dozen. And then I went out maybe a week later and I had a completely different mindset. I was going purely big fish. I wanted big wild browns, had that on my mind. So that naturally pushed me to a different stream, different tactics, even a different rod completely. You know, I went back with the mono rig, tightline style, and I have a favorite stream that I like to target bigger wild brown trout. And my mindset was 20 plus incher, 18 plus inch wild brown and up was the goal. Anything above that is gravy. And it got me thinking after I went and I did decent. I think I caught maybe close to 20, I forget. I think I landed like a 17 incher. So I didn't quite get that mark, and I moved 2 good fish. One was big, but I was thinking about it. And, you know, there's certain times where I wake up or I'm getting ready or I know I can go fishing and I want to go big fish, or I'm going numbers, or I'm like, man, I just want to scoop up some stalkers, whatever it is. So made me think, is that a progression? Is that a mood? You know, we've both been fly fishing for a while now. I think it can be kind of different for different people where they are in their process of fly fishing. Where are you at? What's your mode, your go-to when you're thinking, all right, I know I'm going this morning, X, water is looking like this. Does it change? Is it variable? Is it more of a mood thing?
For me, honestly, I think at the point I am now, and I think the fisherman I've always been, is going to be quantity first. I want to get as many fish to net as possible. It just so happens that I catch some big ones, great. But for me, I'm going to find the fish, find what they're eating first. And then after I can zero in on a good bite, then I start thinking about particular holes or particular runs that I know hold big fish. If I get fish that are active, I know X, Y, and Z hole has a better chance of bigger fish in it, whether it's the structure, the depth, whatever it is, the time of year. And then once I get my numbers up a little bit to the point where I'm okay with what I've done, then I move on to a big fish mindset.
Okay, so you're going anti-skunk first.
Yeah, 100% every time.
Get on the board,
Yep.
scoop them up, feel good about yourself, get the confidence up,
Yep.
and then maybe slow it down a little bit, switch up the fly, target some bigger fish. Is that bigger water usually, deeper holes, or?
In general, I'm fishing bigger water, so the flies aren't really going to change because the water I fish all the time, I know where the holes are that have the chance of catching the big one. I mean, they can be anywhere in that system, but I have my select runs that I know here's the best chance, and then I'll go hunting for those big ones. And it usually ends with jigging a streamer or something.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. What if it's new water? And let's say both scenarios, you're just trying to catch fish, or maybe you've heard that water holds bigger fish. Same approach, or do you start with jig streamers instead, or is it pretty much regardless start with your go-to and can then go from there?
Yeah, I'm always gonna start with my more confident patterns. It doesn't matter the system. I'm gonna start with my confidence patterns again until I can zero in on, you know, getting some bites. And especially if we're on a trip together, like even if we're all struggling, I'll start switching it up. And I usually lean towards jig and streamers right away. And if I'm searching, if I'm on a system I don't know where they're at, or that's my way of covering the most water as quick as possible. So I'll put on a size 10 jig streamer and start working pockets that I would tight line. I'll just do the same thing with a jig streamer and I'll start hunting that way.
So a little bit of prospecting is what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Covering more water a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And I've seen you with a jig streamer. I think when I go out, it's more of a mood for me. And honestly, that mood could be influenced by how much time I have. If I have more time to travel to whatever stream I want, that could subconsciously play a part in that mood. And maybe the mood's based off of seasons for me as well. You know, it could be end of June, early July, and we know those bugs are going nuts. Or for you, maybe when that terrestrial hatch is going crazy, does naturally kind of change your mindset. There's some days leading up where I'm like, I need a big one. And honestly, to the opposite of you, I've gone and I've only scooped like 1 or 2 fish all day, but they've both been over 18, 20 inches. And to me, that's completely worth it. I'm good with that because my mindset is glued on all I need is one good fish, one good wild brown. If I have that mindset of, you know, when we do opening day, our trout weekend, and
mindset is we're going to catch 50. That's the mindset.
Yeah, exactly. After so many years now,
it's a disappointment then.
Yeah, and think about mindset in that regard. We'll jump back into where we were, but like pre-fly fishing, 12 years ago, whatever it was, we would go trout weekend, and we basically convinced ourselves every year we ain't catching nothing.
We're not here to catch fish.
That's right. We're here for the memories. That's it. Yeah. That's what we told ourselves. Yeah. And granted, we had some scurvy mornings too.
It's funny how people will hopefully learn this later on, but back then it switched from the whole point of the trip was the party at the cabin, and the fishing was just something we did on the side. Now, the fishing is the thing that we care about the most. And once we get back to the cabin, we're beat. We're just like, you know, this is just part of it, I guess. Hey, everybody, I'm tired from being out today, so I'm going to have one beer and I'm going to go to bed.
Well, we got to do it all again tomorrow, and we're going to go even harder.
You show back up to the party after catching fish all day, you're a lot less inclined to go party then. You just want to go sleep.
Hey, man, when you're absolutely killing it on the water, that is the party.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. It is funny how that has changed significantly too. We'd still go fish. Like now it is completely opposite, and it's been that way for a number of years now. But to your point, we expect to catch a lot of fish. So if we have one of these years, now weather conditions, we know that, although we do well searching. There's no real limitations for us in that weekend to hunt water, because we've had plenty of blown out weekends and we've still had some really good trips. So, but if we ever hit that wall or something where we're getting like smoked, well, I think we'd be pretty annoyed if we got skunked at this point. Anyway, so it's funny how that mindset can even progress. So for me, there was a natural progression of as I was getting fly fishing, you kind of go, I just want to catch a fish on the fly rod. And then it's kind of like, you know, I want to catch a lot of fish, and then I want to catch a big fish. And then that progresses, if you want it to, into wild fish and certain levels of size of fish or whatever that is. And I think we all kind of get there, but it just changes for me. I enjoy a little bit of everything. So what's your best approach in terms of, I have the most confidence that I'm going to achieve those numbers? Where do you start with?
I first want to just point out, if we're talking about the full lead up and the prep, or, you know, if I wake up, I check my levels and they're elevated 200-300 CFS, confidence goes up 2 points. I like high turbid water. I like to fish thick stuff. So if the water's up CFS, confidence 2 points plus. If nice overcast or like a dreary morning, confidence up again. I'm not upset if it's sunny out. You know, if the sun's high in the sky, then you this and that. I've had great days when it's sunny out with streamers. I've had shit days when it's cloudy out with streamers. So I think that all depends on a lot of outside factors other than where the sun is at in the sky. But for me, I like a nice cloudy day, elevated water levels. Maybe it had just rained. It's up or we're on the drop. right? That's where I'm going to gain my confidence. And then from there, I just do what I do on any other day. To me, it's not about so much where I'm going, it's about what the conditions are. And if I'm going somewhere I'm familiar with, I know what the conditions need to be for me to have the most success. So the stream I fish all the time runs average probably 275, 300. And me, I like it at 556, 7, and that brings up more opportunities and it opens up more of the stream. Runs you wouldn't normally see anything in, now there's fish in. So when the stream swells, I don't look at it as more things I have to navigate in a challenge. I think of it as more of the stream has opened up to my disposal, and now I have more options to find fish. So I guess my confidence comes from what the conditions are going in. And if they aren't ideal, I lean on things I do well, which is tight line nymphing.
But do you have, like, if it's confidence wise in terms of going numbers or bigger fish, or are you going to like switch up your overall setup in terms of confidence? So you've scooped up a dozen fish and you're like, okay, I'm going to go see if I can find some big boys. And aside from the jig streamer, are you running in with that same setup, or are you coming in with maybe a fly that you have used in the past that produces bigger? Are you changing hook size, or is it basically just run and gun, keep rolling with it, and hey, here comes ABC holes, and see if I can move them?
So if I've got a day going, and sometimes you just know if you have your first 10 casts, you're getting whacked 8 out of those times. You're like, okay, like today's going to be one of those days. Like we're going to kill it today. Once I start looking at, all right, I've got my numbers, to where I've satisfied my sick mind, then it's true. If I catch a bunch of fish and I haven't stuck a big one, right? Now it all depends if I stuck a big one. If I'm using a tandem of flies and I've stuck maybe one or two bigger ones, maybe I lost one, maybe I landed one came off, and I know the bigger fish are biting and they're keying in on that, obviously I'm not going to change it, right? Now, if I stuck a bunch of fish and they're all in the 10 to 13 range and the big boys aren't hitting, I usually run like a size 12 as my point fly. Then I'll go a little bit bigger. Maybe I put on, a size 10. I just started putting on meteor snacks. That's my first thing I do before I switch to a jig streamer, which is the next step up. I'll just start increasing the size of that lunch to see if that's going to play a factor, and then go hunting with that. And like I said, I always nymph the stream up and then I streamer it down 90% of the time. So even if I haven't stuck one, I'll just continue to go up through the runs where I know hold fish. And then on the way down, I'm like, okay, now we're hunting the big boy. Jig streamer goes right on my same tight line rig. I don't change it. And I just prospect with a streamer the whole way down, back to where I started.
What if, all right, scenario. What if we go, it's me, you, and Stump. We go to X wild stream, known for potentially big fish. And the goal between the three of us is biggest fish. Numbers don't matter. What are you starting with? You don't have to name your flies. I mean, just style, pattern, general size.
What are we looking at conditions wise? Is the stream running well?
Everything's running right. It's not about numbers. No one, you could catch 50 that day, you could catch 3, doesn't matter. The challenge, which we don't really do challenges or anything, this is just hypothetical, would be, all right, boys, biggest fish wins today. You go and the water, great conditions, and there's potential for big fish.
Well, then I'm putting a jig streamer on then. If that's what it is, like, all right, I need to put the fly on that I think is going to catch, the biggest fish. I'll be dead drifting, jigging, swinging, about a size 10 woolly bugger variation. I always start out with olive, and then it'll switch to black. But again, that all depends on the water too. If the water is a little more off color than usual, I'll go black. And if it's right around perfect or a little turbid, it's always olive. Again, I'll hit all the water with that.
Flash? You like flashing it?
I go back and forth. So I tie a bunch like George Daniel style with some like crazy legs and some flash in it, and I do well. But I also tie them just straight up flat olive or flat black,
just like marabou or whatever.
Yeah. And I honestly think it comes down to adding that extra little wiggle with like the silly legs in there. That, to me, that may or may not entice a fish that maybe wouldn't bite, to see that little extra something. But I haven't seen a difference in, one kills it way more than the other.
I think you could look at it as you're almost targeting different bait fish too. On those legs and stuff, I think more of crawfish pattern a little bit. So I like flashing mine. I always like, there's something about it. Other than like stoneflies, I was thinking about this. I always have flash. I think that's that steelhead mentality though. I can't get it out of my. I just like the sparkle.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you pick spring or fall, and then based off of that, what are you adjusting, size, weight, different column in the water? Are you targeting with that jig streamer, or is it all basically once you find the bottom, just hitting the strike zone?
So if we're talking like spring, even into early summer, I'll work the whole run up, but I'm going to find usually the most success at the head of the run, head, middle. If we're talking fall, I slow it down quite a bit. In the spring and early summer, when the fish start getting active and they're really moving, I can get away with a lot more movement in the fly. I think of it almost like bass fishing at that point. Like I can get away with a little more movement in my rod. And then obviously in the fall, like it's just kind of a follow and twitch. And also, depending on the day, they'll chase it forever. Sometimes it's literally just a pop, a big pause and a pop. Again, it's just about finding the water and dialing in that whatever that cadence is that they want, and it's almost different every time. Sometimes it's up and across, sometimes it's down and across, sometimes it's a dead drift. I don't even touch it. But I would say spring, the heavier, faster water, I can get away with a lot of movement in there and really making the fly dance. And then as we get into fall, winter, I start targeting deeper water and really slowing it down and barely doing anything with it.
Is the jig streamer still your first choice in the fall or winter?
I would say for big fish,
yes.
Yeah, I would say if I like make the choice to target big fish, but if in the wintertime I just want to catch something, I'm gonna stay a little smaller on the nymph size. If I want to have a shot at a big one, I'll still jig a streamer in the pool for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what about you?
All right, so if it's the three of us, it's big fish. We all have our flies that we basically go to immediately. If I'm going for big fish, nymphing most likely. If they're moving on the streamer, I'll be quick to move to the streamer as well. Whether it's jig or regular, and you move a big fish or something, I would switch over to that. But I'm gonna start nymphing first, and I'll probably have some type of big stonefly on the bottom.
Yeah.
And mainly because I'm thinking of a particular stream. I know we didn't label the stream, but big dog on the bottom, stonefly. Color could vary, but I'm gonna start with most likely like dark natural or black or natural. So yeah, so I'm going big stones on the bottom most likely, and then if it's early spring, I'm pretty consistent. I'll have an egg on the top just for the heck of it, and then, well, it depends on the creek. I mean, no, I'll probably I like eggs early season. I don't know. I have luck with them. Same thing in the fall. I would have an egg on the top as well, like late fall, early winter. But most likely, yeah, big stone, size 10. And then if I don't scoop one with the biggest stone, I would just kind of do my normal thing and shuffle through, just kind of switch it up. But like you said, the meaty snacks, especially if there's stoneflies in the water, that would be my go-to. Now, if one of you, same concept as like the streamer bite, if one of you caught a big fish and it was on something very different than what I was fishing, I would switch up. I'm not one to be too stubborn about it. Even if it's something I don't fish that often, I would switch up. Then the key is I'm just gonna have to run to the front of the stream ahead of you two, and
Well, let me ask you this though, because this has happened before, where I make the switch before everybody, regardless of what it is. Usually, I'm switching to a streamer. I will do that before anybody in our group.
I agree, 100%.
I'm not saying I caught big ones, but I started catching fish, and then people still were stubborn and didn't switch. How many fish does it take for somebody to be like, okay, I'm confident enough now that wasn't just luck, or that wasn't one fish that was just looking to eat. Now I'm going to switch over to the thing. Because, like, while you say you'll switch fast, I've also seen you, like, not do that and be like, I'm not convinced yet. I'm going to keep hitting it with my same stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny because, again, different mode when we get into steelhead season. I think we all change much faster.
Yeah,
It's because it is a different mentality and it is so much more prospecting. We talked about this. It's more like we want everyone to catch fish. Where when we're out fishing together, we love to see each other catch fish, but there's a little bit more fun competitiveness to it.
for sure.
Okay, so let me just kind of caveat your question with, am I catching zero fish or am I catching a third of the fish or is it like one for every two? Because I will be stubborn for sure.
Let's just say nobody's been doing well. Out of the three of us, maybe Stump caught one and hooked one. Maybe you had a bite. Maybe I didn't have any bites. And then the reason I switch is because I haven't stuck anything, and I switch to a streamer, and I say I start catching them. What's the number where you're like, okay, I think I'm convinced now? Because I have switched and caught fish, and there have been times where like, you will not
Mhm.
switch. I'll be like, throw one on, and you'll be like, oh, man, you still won't do it. Stump does the same thing.
I was gonna say I think Stump's worse than I am. It it depends. There's a couple factors, and some of it is, I'm gonna be honest, some of it's laziness. In the
Yeah.
sense of like if it's the last, oh man, I don't know.
The thing is, I've handed Stump the fly in which I'm catching them on. I don't got any. I'll be like, here, I have like 10.
No. See, I'm.
He'll go, I don't want it. I'm like, okay then, all right.
Okay, so if I'm not catching any fish or if I am struggling that bad, I don't think it'll take me long to get a fly from you and be like, all right, if that's working. Because I'm stubborn in the sense of like it's confidence. I'm confident in the flies I'm using. I usually catch fish with. If it's to the point where we've been fishing for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then all of a sudden you put on something different and you bang out three, four. Honestly, if you bang out three in a row and I've gone 3 hours with barely anything, I'll switch right away. If if I'm catching fish, I agree with you. It's going to take a lot longer for me to get out of my comfort zone in the sense of, you know how it is. It's all situational, man. If I'm catching fish, I'll probably go slower to switch up. But if it's been a struggle, I want to catch fish.
Also depends too if it's a stream. We don't fish all the time, so we're not even 100% confident going in. And then if you're struggling a little bit, and then somebody finds something that they're keen in on, whether it's a color, a size, whatever it is, a tactic. I'm not bashful. I'll switch right away. If I don't have whatever it is you're catching them on, I'll find something similar, and I'll start there.
I think to that point, a lot of times we are already fishing similar flies. So when Stump says I'm using blue or whatever, I don't have any of those flies that he fishes, but I have something that shows similar in the water. It shows a similar color, and sure enough, now to his credit, I may still catch one to his two, but it's enough fish where if I don't have that fly, I'm still matching similar to your point, similarly enough where I'm catching fish and doing well. Yeah, I think it just depends. I want to catch fish. If it's a new stream, I think I'll be even quicker to switch because it's kind of like that steelhead mentality. Just there's success in just figuring out that problem, that equation. You know what I mean? New water, unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar bugs, whatever it is. So you feel accomplished in just catching fish in some capacity.
All right, so Steelhead Alley Podcast. We're going Steelhead now,
I like it.
but it's the same realm. So we talked about where we're at now in fly fishing in terms. Are we numbers now? Do we have days where we're going and getting big fish? Do we have days we're confident more than others getting a big fish? Right. And whereas I said for me, like I'm a numbers guy. You can kind of switch it up depending on like you can put your mind zero focused in on like this is what I want to do today. I want to catch them on this, or I want to go for a big one. Right. I'm more like I need fish to net now. So do you think from the time you started steelhead fishing till now, where you're at, and the caliber of steelhead fisherman you are now, did that mentality change? As in, was it in the beginning, I just want to catch one? I mean, that's every time. But now that you're more confident, you know what steelhead are looking for, you know where to find them most of the time, how to, fish for them more effectively. Did your mindset switch at all? I feel like in steelhead, everybody's mind is just, I need to catch them. Whatever that is, I need to catch them. Big doesn't matter. I need to get on the board, and then we can think about that later.
I agree. So yeah, it's been 9, 10 years steelhead fishing, and I remember the first couple years when Beaver and his dad took me for the first time, and again a few years following that, it was always like the whole weekend. The goal is to catch one.
Mm.
The goal is to catch one. Everyone to catch one. If it's two of us, if it's three of us, everyone catch one, and don't get your hopes up for anything else. And in fairness, those first couple years, I think I averaged like two, and that was only one or two trips a year, if two. And then at year 2, 3, got in more, and then you do have those days where you do start catching a lot of fish. Like you said, you start dialing in the water, you start exploring more streams, more water, figuring out how to approach them, tying different flies. It's definitely progressed and it's definitely changed. You and I both agree. If we go up there for a 2.5, 3 day session and we catch one fish, I will be extremely disappointed in that. And now that's not conditions considering. We've been on trips where we've struggled when conditions don't align, which is a lot of steelhead fishing. But if it's like a prime weekend, prime time of the year, dead of winter, and we're on juicy water for 2.5, 3 days, and we leave with one fish, I would I would be very, very, very upset. You know that. That's not a surprise to anyone. But I also don't need 1,000 fish. We've caught a lot of steelhead at this point where if I can catch a couple a day, I would be happy. Like that's all I need going to the water that I want with the crew that we go with, spending, the 11, 12 hours out on the water and banging a couple fish here and there, and probably losing a couple in between as well. I'm wonderful. If so now it is starting to progress a little bit further into we've gotten a taste of seeing some of those bigger ones, those 30 inchers. If you sniff something around 28 inches, that's a big steelhead. There's a class difference in all fish when they
Yeah.
grow, especially steelhead. You go from like 26 inches is an awesome steelhead. You're riding high. It's a big fish. You jump into 28, just 2 inches difference, and it's a much bigger fish. So you're hunting 28. 28 is kind of a number in the back of your head, like, oh man, this might be 28. So yeah, so those sizes has come into my brain, and then that's progressed into 30, and you sniff a couple 30s, or you battle a big fish you think might be there. I can't lie, like a lot of times I have in the back of my head, I would love to catch something like that, but like at the same time, it doesn't bother me if I don't. If we have a great weekend and we're catching 25, 26, 27 inch steelhead, I don't it I don't need anything bigger than that. We're having a great time either way.
I mean, you probably have double the amount of steelhead trips as me, if not more. But even in the times I've spent steelhead fishing, I've caught enough to where I'll go into the week with a big fish mindset. But as soon as I hook one, even if it's tiny, you don't remember until you remember. You know what I mean? And then you hook one the first time after trout fishing all year, and you hook a 22, 23 inch wild brown, and you're like, man, that's a fight. Then you hook a 22 inch steelhead, and you're like, holy shit, like it's different.
It is a much stronger fish to your point, and they're juiced up.
And even now, I'm out there like I've caught enough now where I'm at the point where I'm using a 4 weight out there, and I want to make it more fun. It's fun enough on a 7 weight, and I'm out there trying to make it more difficult with a 4 weight because it's like I don't know. I'm competitive and I like challenges, and I just like to do things a little bit more.
I was gonna say you like the challenge element of it. You like to test an idea. If you have a thought in your head and you think it can work, you're gonna see if it works.
I didn't want to carry 2 rods. I just don't want to do that. It's hard enough walking all day. I don't want to carry 2 rods.
Yeah, I don't carry two anymore. It's all just the one. But to your point, you wanted to fish your 4 weight. You thought you could catch steelhead on it. I didn't think it was a great idea, but sure enough, I saw you catch plenty of steelhead with honestly little issue, zero issue in terms of the confidence of your rod. So, uh, hey, you proved it right, and it's definitely a bigger challenge.
I mean, that was a risk. That could have blew up in my face, and that could have been the first big fish like snap, or it could have just been a waste, because I was running my mouth like I was super confident, but I wasn't. Oh,
In your defense, you knew what you were doing. And as I've learned since you started doing that, I've seen more people doing. You know what I mean? It's more me not thinking outside the boxes. You know, you thought outside the box and it worked fine. Those 4 weights are strong enough, especially when you hit a 10 foot. Dude, I still remember when we were fishing a couple years ago, steelhead, big water, and got into that run. Me and you dipped into, and I don't know if that was your first one on the 4 weight. I feel like it was, but you got in there, and I just remember that first hook set, dude. You cranked it, and that rod was bent so far in half. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. This is the test. And we talked about this in episode 1, I think, but you have a bit of a bass set to you, and you cranked it, and that rod was down to the water. And you got the fish, and then after that, it was no big deal. But there was a couple minutes where I'm like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that your first one on that? Do you know the run I'm talking about?
What you're talking about, I believe so. I believe that
Okay.
was, yeah.
That was awesome. That was a fun trip too.
And you know what? I'm going to keep using it until I push the limits too far. Then I'll stop. But I love that rod, and I'm confident in that rod. And honestly, I've broken it a couple of times on my own stupidity. And Douglas is awesome and replaces it in 5 minutes. So I know that even if something happens to it, you know, that's awesome about having Douglas. And I get a new piece sent to me in 5 days. So
yeah, that's awesome. The company matters. You get better stuff and better customer service, no doubt. Would you do a 3-weight?
yeah, dude, I'll do anything. I don't. Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. I'm like, I've talked myself into the 4-weight. I'm like, yeah, because realistically, we're in Pennsylvania, man. We've seen you hook into a really, really big fish back in the day. But whether you're up in New York too, but you can hook into a 27, 28-inch wild brown trout. You're going to have your 4-weight. So they're built for these big fish. We just don't think about it. We just, it's not a regular, where steelhead is a regular. You're hitting big fish 25,
Yeah, yeah.
26, 27. What's funny though is you've convinced me, seeing you do it. The 4-weight is doable. I could take my 4-weight out if I wanted. But the 3-weight, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. That's the line.
Yeah. No, I would do it. I mean, I don't know until I know. I don't know until I try. I mean, it can be done.
I don't know until I know.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think it's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of skill. It's a little bit of, it's a little bit of everything.
It's confidence. You
Yeah.
got to know your equipment. You know your rod. You fish it regularly for how many years. And in reality, the more you dig into it, like a 4-weight is definitely strong enough to handle those fish. You have to know how to use the equipment. And it's that 10-footer is going to protect your tip at the same way as my 7-weight. So to your point, I think it's confidence. It's how you use it.
Sometimes you need a little bit of overconfidence. You know what I mean? A little bit of ignorance go a long way.
We've needed your overconfidence in some situations. We'll have to, one of these days we'll do an episode and we'll relive that night fishing session, because that was an awesome trip.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of my favorite trips ever. We'll tell the story, but not because the fish landed. It was all the elements that went into that made it awesome.
There was so much that went into it. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that one. That's a good story. For everyone who's out of the loop, we'll tell that. But we did some night fishing Mousin a few years back, and it was just a really cool trip. Me, Zach, and Stump, and so we'll have to get into that one of these days and tell some stories, because we got some good ones. And then just to get back to it, is your progression the same? I know you talked about this a little bit, but how are you feeling today if we go up there and conditions are good? Now there's a caveat here, and everyone's not catching fish. Are you like, okay, it is what it is, or is it, I don't accept this, I need to find them?
To keep it short, I go through a roller coaster of emotions, especially if I haven't gone since last year at this time, because I might only get out on 1 or 2 trips.
Sure, good point. Really good point.
Super dialed in on the vise. I got all my patterns that usually do well for me. I got if everything's right, the water's looking right, we got a good crew, we got a fun weekend. I'm riding high. We're all talking about the spot we're going and this or that. It's up here. But in Steelhead, for some reason, it doesn't take long for me to get pissed. And even though I would say it's more challenging than trout fishing, right?
It is.
trout fishing, I'm fishing the water around me constantly, so I have more confidence in if I can't catch them here, I'm going to go here, here. I'm going to switch up this way, this way. I'm going to go this way. I'll figure it out. I have more confidence. I'm going to figure it out. Up here, it's not such an easy change from stream to stream. Number one, and number two, if we're not catching them, instantly go into like this is going to be a long day.
Yeah, long weekend.
When you see me, I don't get defeated on streams. That's the only time I've ever been like wanting to throw in the towel.
I agree. You don't give up on a regular trout stream. We've all been beat up on the steelhead water, though.
Yeah. Steelhead brought me to my knees. You know what I mean?
We've all been there. That's the thing. It is there's humbling experiences out there. Even if it's like 6 hours, you can be humbled quickly. And then the rest of the trip, it can completely change and you can go nuts. But I think for me, the hardest part is, you kind of said this, was time. If we only have 2.5, 3 days up there for a trip, because we have kids, we're at this stage in our lives where full-time jobs, kids, all this stuff, we just don't have the time that we've once had to fish in general. And hopefully in a few years we get to pick it up as our kids get older, and that's the goal, right? But it's a roller coaster for all of us. It really is. When you said roller coaster, I agree, because we all know how amped up I can get on a steelhead stream, and like I need to catch that one and then I can kind of unwind for the rest of the weekend.
The thing about the steelhead water is, even if on Thursday you hammer them when we get there at night, right? You got to fish all day Friday, and you might not catch them. You might have in 4 hours, you might catch more fish than you're going to catch the next 2 days.
Yep. 100. Well, they're moving, you know?
You might walk in, slay them. So let's say you catch 4 or 5. To me, that's slaying in 4 hours, right?
Definitely.
You get to that spot the next day, you don't sniff one for the first 4 hours, and you're all of a sudden you're like, what the hell?
What happened?
I immediately go to I suck. This is horrible. Again, it's humbling. You have an ego for the game because you've been doing it for so long and you can produce on your own water, that when it doesn't happen right away, or if it does happen and then the next day it doesn't, you're like, did I forget how to fish from yesterday to today? Especially if I look up the stream and you're killing it, which is awesome. But that also is just like, what am I doing? Because we're all relatively using the same stuff.
And to your point, man, we are all there for us to all have a great time and catch a bunch of fish. That's what we all want. No one wants to be, I caught 20 and everyone else caught 2. No one wants that. But I agree with you, man. After so many fish, rooting for your buddies catching fish, if you're not catching fish, it's tough. Wherever that goes, it is really tough. I'd say 9 out of 10 times we eventually catch that fish and get that monkey off our back. But we have had those times.
Sometimes it just takes a bite.
I agree with you. A lost fish is even all you need. And steelhead, losing a fish is darn close to even just to landing them compared to like a trout or something. I was thinking, and just expand on that a little bit, because I've seen you get pretty mad. We've seen me get pretty mad. But I think the one thing that I kind of pride myself on, and you weren't on the Ontario trip last year, but that was a really good example of it. All last year was freaking tough, man. But anyway, when it comes to steelhead, is mad and as bummed as I can be, I'm also the ultimate optimist out there, where I will not shut down. I won't get off the stream. I will fish 10 times harder until I scoop something. And everyone else will be in the truck taking a nap or eating lunch or whatever. And I think it's because that time of the year, I don't really care. There's fish somewhere. There's steelhead somewhere, and it just makes me fish harder and harder, and it usually works. It's almost like a stupid optimism where you're like, all right, Kyle, it's 6:30, it's dark, like, please, we got to go. Let's go eat. We're dying.
And all I would say 99% of the time, no matter how the day goes, whether you kill it, we all kill it, nobody catches anything, you're going to be the last one on the stream every time.
Yes, I agree.
And I'll hang in there for a while, but like once it starts getting, I'm out of there. I'm tired. Whereas you're like, until you can't see, you're fishing. And I would say, to your credit again, more than half of that time you come back after we could stand there and not catch nothing or have a bite for 4 hours.
Yep.
We're all like, all right, screw this, we're out of here. You'll come back up, or somebody will stay with you at the stream and they'll witness, be like, dude, he stuck 3 right as soon as you left. He landed 2 of them. It's almost like you need us to vacate. You got the stream to yourself, and then you're like, all right, now I can really...
I can focus now.
Yeah, it really almost works out. Like,
dude, that's exactly what happened on the Ontario trip. That's happened on other trips. I'll have to tell you that story, but that was all new water. We never fished Ontario, and everyone was back in the truck, and I banged out a big brownie. It's like 26 inch plus, but it was awesome. By the time I was getting photos of it, I almost couldn't see. But I love that. I love being the optimist out there in a sense, because I think I don't have a choice unless we're getting like absolutely monsooned with rain or ice melt or whatever that is, conditions are freezing or something. If it's outside of the factors of uncontrollable conditions, I'm like, man, they're there. We'll find them. We may work hard, but my optimism has led us to finally finding fish as a group, where it is like, okay, let's zip up here. Oh, I got a backup idea. Okay, oh, we got skunked there for 6 hours, but I know we can find fish. Let's go to this place. So I think you kind of need an optimist on the water, especially up there. You need someone to be like, we're good, we're good. I was thinking about this as we're closing this up, dude. I am honestly, once we hit July, I'm like, I'm ready for steelhead season. It's so bad because it gets so hot, and it's just, you know how it is, July, August. It's, you just kind of like put it in your mind, just get me to September.
I have a few, I guess. I don't know if you want to call them tips, or I just have some advice, or just my mentality on this whole big fish, small fish. What's our mentality going into it? What's our progression? So
Yeah.
I think a big part of fly fishing now, especially with all the resources that are available, everybody starting out wants to be an elitist. Everybody wants to only hunt wild fish. Everybody wants to do this, right? Everybody only wants to use these certain fly. Yeah, it's, to me, go out, look for numbers first. Like, that's how you get good at anything, repetition. To me, get your technique down with stocked fish, with places you know you're going to catch numbers, right? That's how you hone in your technique, by repeating that and being able to do it. There is the argument of you can have a margin of error in your technique because the fish are more likely to bite and they're easier to catch. But time on the water, reps, and then later you get into the season or even the next year, like those holdovers will be in the same spots that the wild fish will be. They'll react the same kind of way.
True.
Obviously not 100%, but I think the whole mentality of like jumping into fly fishing and then being like, I'm only going to do this, and this is how, these are the way, keep it simple, stupid, and just buy the things you need. Go out on water again, because that's how I honed my skills in. I went on water where I'm gonna catch big numbers, right? And I had a lot of failure on those streams too, and that just then carries over to now I really have a honed in craft to where you go on a wild stream and you haven't done it before, and you're trying to euro it, whatever you're trying to do, you're not gonna have fun. You may get lucky, it happens, but more often than not, you're gonna have a lot more failure than you are success. So don't be above fishing certain types of water, right? And I go out to catch fish. I'm not going out there to be on, to be a professional. I do it to catch fish. Having fun to me is catching fish. People are different, but don't be above doing that in the beginning. Boost your numbers up, get confident in your patterns, right? And then take those skills onto a Class A stream and then see what's what.
No, I think you're dead on, Zach. It's I think most of us have a natural progression of just wanting to catch fish. So if you are not in that progression, to Zach's point, maybe back it up a little bit and go follow the stalker truck. So one, fish whatever you have access to. If you have fish to stocked waters, go fish stocked waters, and especially if you're new, and if that's what you love to do, you go fish what you want to what you love to do, regardless of what someone else is doing. Or even go to a lake, go to a pond and fish for sunnies. Catch fish. Simply enough, catching fish leads to confidence. Your confidence wants you to go fishing again. And then every time you learn something differently, and then you start to progress. And that will eventually lead you to wherever you want to go. If you only want to fish for sunnies your whole life, wonderful. If you want to go hunt wild fish, wonderful. There's so much opportunity fly fishing, whether it's nymphing, streamers, dries, whatever type of rod, wherever you're going, bass, trout. There's just so much opportunity to have fun on the water.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, especially if you're trying to learn, download the stalking app, follow the stalking truck. That's what we all did. I mean, we haven't followed a stalking truck for a long time, but we did. And when I say follow, I mean we knew the stalking days, we knew when they stalked streams, and we would go when we could based off of that. And I think for me, wild fish lead us to more unique situations and places. Like, and those are usually where the wild fish are. So if we were catching wild fish in the middle of central Pennsylvania and we're in this beautiful area and it took us a half a mile to hike into it or whatever, or we put in how many stream miles hunting, and so I think it's just as much the scenery and the opportunity of that hunt. But we in Pennsylvania, we got some good stalked water. So like you said, break it down, simplify it, don't be above one technique over the other when you're learning, and to your point, just go to catch fish.
Yeah,
Man.
sure.
Zach, so numbers, big fish, I think we can all agree it's, you kind of depends on where you're at in your fishing, but either way, it's each their own, right? Then before you know it, y'all, we're hitting that fall bite, and then it's steel season. Zach, I'll catch you in a couple weeks, man. Talk to you soon, and thanks for tuning in. Steelhead Alley Podcast. Take it easy, everyone.
Alrighty.